What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another J&A podcast. As always, on the other side of the thing, we have the one, the only JJ Master. How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you doing?
And I'm doing good. But isn't there something else that we need to say today?
Yeah, we're adding another letter to the podcast for this episode. The P.
Shit. He says yes. James is here. How you doing today, James?
I'm doing good, fellas. How about yourselves?
You doing guy?
He's doing God.
I'm doing God, man. I'm doing pretty spot for a white guy.
Today we have a lot of interesting topics and a lot to talk about. So, as my famous quote for every episode, JJ, what do we got to do today?
Oh man, we're gonna be doing a little activity called the 3x3. So, for those that don't know, we're gonna be.
Math?
Nah, man, no. It has nothing to do with math or algebra or trigonometry or whatever.
Who needs math anyways if you're a football player?
Hey, football is a game of inches, my dude. Why are you playing?
Yeah, it's a game of inches, a game of numbers. Anyway,
You're not wrong.
Anyway, so the 3x3 activity it's dealing with free agency, and we're going to be talking about 3 teams who we thought did the best in free agency, or quote unquote won free agency. 3 teams who did good, probably not getting talked about enough in our opinions, and then the 3 teams who we thought just did absolutely terrible for either the lack of moves or the lack of money spent or spending way too much money. I mean, however you want to chop it up. That's what we'll be talking about today.
All right. How are we gonna start this?
Ladies
Let's make it
first.
fair
All
where
right,
everybody talks. Everybody needs let's all not spit our 3 teams out at once. Like I go,
Yeah.
you go, or something like that.
I mean,
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll go
Alright, so
second.
what-
I just
what-
don't want to go first.
Okay, so I'll go first. But for which category do you want me to go? I'll name one team for one category right now. Which one?
We'll start off with the good. We'll start off positive.
Okay. Well, something that was pretty obvious. I'm gonna go with the New York Jets. They acquired a lot of talent this offseason. They got Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley. Could have had Anthony Barr. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. And then who's that other guy? I'm having a blind moment. You know what? We won't go there right now. But with that said, they had a really good offseason. They spent their money well. They didn't give up too much for Le'Veon Bell like people thought the team that got him would. It's a pretty simple contract if you go in detail with it, and I like the way they defend.
Alright, since I threw myself out there to go second, I'm sorry, Patrick. I threw
go
myself
ahead,
out
go
there to go second.
It's all good.
I also did have the Jets, so just to make sure we don't have to repeat ourselves for like the second or third team we bring up. I also had the Jets. That guy that you were probably thinking about, Aaron, not 100% sure, Jamison Crowder, the slot receiver.
Yeah.
They also did trade for Raiders guard Kelechi Osemele. He's not bad, man. I mean, he is on the older side, still playing at a high level. I just like all the moves they made. I mean, we can't like predict the future on how many games are they going to win, but what we do know is, we like the moves that they made, which is why they're in this category.
Fair
All
point.
right.
I was also going to say the Jets because they got C.J. Mosley and Le'Veon Bell. But, the other team that's out there, kind of the Raiders, to be honest with you. They're trying to pick up more people. They're bringing Manti Te'o in, on Tuesday, I think. And they got, of course, Big Chest himself, a.k.a. what JJ likes to call him.
Mr. Big Chest, yes, sir.
Mr. Big Chest.
He's going to show
Antonio
y'all
Brown.
his big chest.
After they released Jordy Nelson, that was kind of sad for some fans, but yeah,
Alright.
that's like.
Now let's all agree on the third team. How about that? So we're not calling anybody certainly out. We can all maybe some how we want to do this.
Wait, you said agree on what team?
Maybe not agree, but so we named 2 teams right now. We have the Jets and the Raiders. Let's all together time up to make one more team that was good. Unit.
Yeah, you go ahead, Aaron.
That's what I'm saying. We gotta talk about this together.
I mean,
we all go ahead, right?
If our three's different, it's okay. I mean, you know, we're not gonna agree with everything.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say my team is gonna be something that is also gonna be. I don't say that yet, but you know I'm getting at. A team
I
that
have to
did
cut
really
this
good.
short, you guys. I actually do have to go. It's been nice. I'll catch y'all later.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I actually do have to go. I'm fixing to leave. I got you, bro.
All right, bro.
Alright.
Alright, well, back to J&A, I guess. Okay, so my third team, and something that you probably have on your mind, believe it or not, is I'm gonna have to say the Green Bay Packers, dude. They didn't break the bank on anyone, but they brought in guys that is gonna help a lot. Okay, you bring in, how do you say his name? Preston?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Wait, which
Smith.
one? We brought in, two Smiths, Preston and Zadarius.
Yeah. So you brought in Preston Smith. I'm not going to talk about Zadarius yet, okay? And you bring in probably, most likely, my top 5 safety, Adrian Amos. Okay? Now, did they break the bank on Adrian Amos? No. Did they break the bank on Preston? No. They did what they had to do, and they got who they wanted. Now, is there other guys they could have wanted, should have, would have? Yeah. But it didn't happen. But the thing is they did better than a lot of people thought they were going to do at free agency. And I have that's easily a top 3 for me for best in free agency.
Yes, without sounding biased, I did have the Green Bay Packers in my top 3. Typically, aside from last year, you can say they're typically pretty quiet around this time of year. They kind of re-sign and restructure people. They don't really like using the franchise tag, so you know, going out there and seeing them spend money on day 2, they let all the teams, not all the teams, but all of like the big quote-unquote spenders spend that money and let it go up in day 1, and then day 2 they just kind of pick and chose who they wanted and gave them the contracts. They definitely gave out some team-friendly contracts, you know, if you look at the numbers and break it down year by year.
Especially for a safety like Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian Amos, who severely underpaid. I mean, I'm kind of surprised he took the deal. But yeah, it's good to see a team like Green Bay, who is pretty strict with the whole tradition thing, kind of go out of their comfort zone in a way. Now, they have made splashy free agent signings before, but it's very rare. I mean, Reggie White and Charles Woodson are like the only ones that really come to mind. Maybe Julius Peppers, but to see them actually go out and get multiple guys instead of that one big free agent speaks volumes to the culture change that's developing.
Okay. See, okay, we agree on something.
We agree on a lot, Aaron.
Alright. What else we gotta talk about?
Well,
you know what I meant to say.
Yeah, Patrick, he said the Raiders. The Raiders didn't make my good list.
Like a motherfucker, but we'll talk about that later. Okay.
They didn't make that list. I'll just put it like that.
Not at all.
I'm pretty sure we agree on the third team. If you're thinking what I'm thinking. Our second favorite team.
I'm the one that said Green Bay, you're the one that said it, and I think we already know.
Yeah, second favorite team, Cleveland. And
yeah, baby.
I know what you're thinking. Odell wasn't a free agent, but they acquired him during the free agency period via trade. And people thought they'd have to give up a lot more too.
Then we can too.
Yeah, I mean, people thought they'd have to give up a lot more, like draft capital. They did give up their first round pick, which, you know, kind of hurt. But at the same time, if you're going to acquire a young superstar like that, you're probably going to have to. And on top of that, yeah, they did give up Jabril Peppers, but, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, they have a decent backup behind them. Obviously not going to have the same impact, but it wasn't like a major loss. It's not like they traded Jarvis Landry to get Odell Beckham. They were still able to keep basically everything intact. They signed Sheldon Richardson. I thought that was an underrated signing for a team like Cleveland, who needed a second defensive tackle in their defense. I just like what they did, man. That's why they're winners.
That's what they're winners. I like that. Yeah, like when it comes to something like that, you pretty much said anything. I'll go in depth about the Raiders or something else. You'll see what I'm getting at. Okay. Just so I can go ahead and talk about this, can we go to the worst teams and
Yeah, feel free to do that.
Number one, I'm gonna go. Actually, no, this is gonna be number 2 on the list, but because I want number 1.
Okay.
If you say number 1, I'm not gonna be mad at you. But this is a team I really want to talk about. But number 2 is gonna be the Oakland Raiders. I mean, you overpay for a left tackle. Let's start off like you break the bank on a tackle that came from the Patriots, which if we've not learned anything, I mean, just so I don't look stupid, buddy from New York that came from
Nate Soldier.
I beat you to it, motherfucker. Okay. All right, Nate Soldier, dude. Really good with the Patriots. Okay.
Below average with the Giants.
And what happens when he switches teams?
Below average.
That happens with some players, believe it or not. And not every. Now you probably think, dude, a player doesn't change by this, that, but you got to think like, example. This is going to be totally off subject, but I like doing stuff like this sometimes.
That's
Quentin
fair,
Nelson with the Colts. He made guys around them better. Like Quentin Nelson made, just because as a guard, he made other people play better. You get what I'm saying, okay?
And if you watch Colts games, you'll be able to point that out too.
Yeah. Okay, so you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you go back to the New York thing, Nate Soldier possibly was made to look better by some average players on that offensive line, and when he went to New York, he didn't have the same, the same motivation or whatever the right word is. Now you probably think, as a tackle, how can a guard influence you? Dude, you don't know your NFL. You're not your NFL. You don't know your football. If you don't, it's all communication. It's all this, that. So, that's why a player can play different. Same thing for like a really good say. If you don't mind me talking about this in more detail.
Yeah, go ahead.
Same thing for, say, I think Adrian's going to be played really well with the Packers. Like, that's why I had them on that top 3
hope
list.
so.
For an example, I'm going to act like he plays bad, okay? For this example.
Okay.
So, Adrian Amos, really good with the Bears, okay? He goes to Green Bay, he's not so good. Why would you might say that? Well, you got to think, on the Bears, there's other players to make him play better. You got your linebackers that can cover it up a little bit. A pass rush linebackers that can help that safety out. Because if the pass rush gets there, the safety just can stand there for like a good 5 seconds before he had.
Yeah, not cover his ass for 12 seconds.
So that's what I'm getting at with the whole any player can make any player play better, especially if it's on the same unit.
Yeah, I think it took you a while to get there, but I get the example. Definitely, I do get what you're saying. Hopefully,
I just wanted more detail.
I hope everyone understands. For a worst team, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now. Oakland's offseason was so wild, I couldn't put them on any list. I couldn't put them on good, bad, or underrated. I just couldn't justify putting them on any list. Their offseason was that crazy to really break down.
Oh, you didn't have them on bad?
I didn't have them on any. It was just too wild because they made a good move, in my opinion, with AB. And they made a bad move with the left tackle, and they made an underrated move getting Tyrell Williams on a cheap deal. So I couldn't really justify putting them on any list because they didn't do enough to be on a particular list, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So my first bad team, I really don't want to call them a bad, I don't really want to say they did bad, but Detroit.
Oh, you're going to... Oh, okay. Well, good. I can say mine next.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Detroit. I have nothing against what they did in free agency. I'm actually kind of happy to see that they're doing stuff because they've been one of those historically bad franchises. I understand the hype around Trey Flowers, too. I get it. Going back, joining his old defensive coordinator. I understand. The dots align. There's more to the game than just stats, even though I love stats, believe me. His highest career total in sacks on a season was 7.5, and they basically paid exactly what D Ford is getting, who had 13 last season. Now, I know they're two different players. Trey Flowers is a better run defender. He's an overall like complete defensive end, but as a pass rusher, which a lot of people classify him and identify him as a pass rusher, he's never had more than 7.5 sacks, and he's not even an elite pass rusher when it comes to pressures. So you basically paid $85 million for 5 years for that. They made Justin Coleman, who was an average nickel corner for Seattle, they made him the highest paid slot corner, and he was pretty average with Seattle, which is why Seattle had no problem letting him go. Let's see, who else did they even sign? They signed Jesse James. I actually did kind of like that one. I like Jesse James. He's a cool dude. Danny Amendola, that didn't really make sense to me either. And the only reason it didn't make sense is because you had a guy who can do that at a better, higher level that you traded to Philadelphia. Yeah. Golden Tate. I mean.
All right, but can you? All right, let's try to back that up, okay? I guess from people like us, we say we wouldn't, but you got to think, man. What's going through them GM's head on trade deadline day? You know, they don't want to mess something up. You know, like so many offers are coming in and out, and they just like
Yeah, I understand. If there's a good offer, I mean, you got to have the trigger fingers. You got to either know you're gonna take it, and it goes back to the whole trading thing. I mean, if you don't want to have that player in trade talks, don't pick up the phone for the trade talks. It's pretty simple. Something that the Giants general manager didn't understand quite well. But with the Lions, I mean, I like Danny Amendola as a player. The only reason I would call that a bad move is because they had that on their team already. It's nothing towards Danny Amendola. That's kind of a shot. Yeah. That's kind of a shot at the organization, not Danny. I think he's a good player.
There. Can I go for the underachieved part again?
Let's see. I still have one more like bad team to talk about.
That's what I meant. My bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead and get the last one out there.
That's what I meant by underachieved. It's bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I hate to say this, but this is a team that said I wanted to talk to Willie about, and I kind of thought you took it, but you didn't. I'm proud of you. Indy, bro.
Indy.
Something that just highlighted my day when at the beginning of this podcast you said we're going to do a 3-on-3 where we're going to talk about teams that maybe didn't do this or that, and then you said this one phrase: didn't spend money. Okay.
Yeah.
Colts #1 in the NFL. Cap.
$100 million.
Okay? Over $100 million. So going into this free agency, an average fan or anybody would say, they're going to spend money. I'm not saying that they're going to go get blah 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 blah. The whole fucking. They're not.
But they were going to be active.
They're going to be active. Day one hits. All right, JJ, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I can't wait to see what the Colts do. Okay. Blank. Okay. This guy goes here. I'm like, okay. I don't know what's going on, but okay. This guy goes here. Damn, JJ, why ain't the Colts? What are the Colts doing?
Come on, Indy, you have money.
Best player goes somewhere else. What's going on?
Are they picking up the phone? Yeah.
They didn't do what they could have done. They were a playoff team last year with that roster. Imagine if they could have just
added more talent.
Right. They could have got anybody. Hell, even a player like Earl Thomas would have been completely fine for y'all to interview. I would have not judged y'all. But you got money to spend it, dude. Like, I think as their GM, he's afraid to spend their money.
Yeah, definitely. It pretty much showed in this free agency.
And that's not good, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't be afraid to spend money.
The Colts did make mine as well. My honorable mention is the Washington Redskins. And it all goes back to what I told you about in text messages about Landon Collins. I'm sorry if you're a Landon Collins fan and you're listening. I'm not donating. I'm not putting all that money towards in the box safety when I can go draft one. I'm sorry. And to be honest, he's not even the best at what he does.
No.
I mean, he's making... Okay, let me put this in perspective. Tyrann Mathieu, who plays all over the field, is making the same money on a per-year basis than a guy who is a scheme player in the box safety. I feel like Tyrann Mathieu, in my opinion, because I value versatility, way more valuable than a guy like Landon Collins.
Are you for serious right now?
Yeah, I value versatility over just
And
plug and play.
I'm not doing this so I can make the people fit.
Yeah, and when I talked to you, maybe I was kind of stretching a little bit, like ripping Landon Collins. I told you that I would take almost 20 safeties before I take Landon Collins. I can confidently say on air I'll take 15 at the most. Maybe 17 or 18. And I just feel like Washington threw all their money at the Landon Collins boat. I mean, all right, let me ask you this. They lost Preston Smith. Ryan Kerrigan's an aging pass rusher, but he's still solid. The defensive line's stout. The corners, it's whatever. Free safety, they don't have one. What are you paying Landon Collins to do? Are you paying him to be 2016 Landon Collins? Or are you paying him to be your Superman, the guy that bails you out? Like, let me get that straight. What's going to be Landon Collins' role in Washington? I think that's what I need an answer to. And that's why I have Washington as an honorable mention. I mean, I feel like they're going to make him be Superman. I mean, they're going to have to... Their secondary, I mean, I like some of their younger corners, but Josh Norman, I mean, come on. I mean, he could have been a cut candidate for Washington this season. And I'm not even saying that to disrespect Josh Norman, but honestly, he was one of the players who everyone thought, would possibly get cut this offseason. And it still could happen in the preseason. But, this is just a roster who, they moved on from HaHa Clinton Dix, in my opinion, good decision. But now you're left with no free safety. Your cornerbacks, they're young, but they're not really that good yet. And now you got an in-the-box safety who's supposed to bail all of these kids out in the secondary. And I don't know. But Indy is definitely the last team. I couldn't put Washington in there because I just felt like there were 3 teams worse than them. Indy, this offseason was the ultimate definition of expectations versus reality. We expect them to be in the conversation for every big free agent. We expect them to get interviews with all the top prospects. And all the top players in free agency. And
we were actually spoiled this season. Like I said like 2 weeks before the NFL ended, like in the divisional round, I was like, bro, this offseason is about to be like the best in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely, because of the amount of talent that was hitting the market. And the Colts, a lot of people had them getting particular players. Like, they already picked and chose who in their head, playing the GM role, who they're going to get. And the reality is they got Carolina's 3rd best receiver, and they're interviewing Jay Ajayi, who's coming off a knee injury. I mean, that's their reality. They signed Carolina's 3rd receiver.
If they get Jay Ajayi, which they most likely are, the way things are looking right now, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good pickup.
You got Andrew running back, which is what they wanted. They wanted, Le'Veon Bell would have been nice, but they did get. It's must. I'm just going to say it like it happened because it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen.
They got Andrew Luck for a running back, so I can't hate on them for that.
Okay, yeah, true.
But I do respect what you said about the knee injury. But a guy like Jay Ajayi, I mean, him and Andrew Luck is going to be really good too. I mean, I can't hate on him. But I would have got somebody else.
I mean, I think the Jay Ajayi pickup would be good because it's a low risk, high reward type of situation. I do understand why everyone says they need a running back. Believe me, I think Le'Veon Bell would have took them to the next level. I got to give some, props and respect to Marlon Mack. I know he came on late because he was hurt or whatever. Last 7 games he balled. I'm not going to just disrespect him and discredit what he did because he deserves it.
Yeah, dude. He was playing really good at the end of the season. But you need a guy that can do that the whole season, you feel me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if he hadn't have got injured, Now, I'm not going to say he would have done that the whole season, but he would have definitely put up some stellar numbers that would have made people think, damn, they got this dude in the 5th round from some small school in Florida who can do all this. And, that's probably why, the 49ers, right? That's probably why Tevin Coleman came cheap, because people were thinking about that in the back of their heads. We can get dudes in the 5th round.
Yep.
Yeah, and Tevin Coleman was a 3rd rounder, right?
Yep. Now, I hate to say this about Tevin Coleman, okay? I like Tevin Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
But
I do too.
The contract that he ended up going to the 49ers with, he could have stayed with the Falcons for that price.
Yeah.
He could have afforded.
The Falcons had enough money.
That's how low he got bought. And the Falcons have no cap at all. We have 4.25 cap now as of today.
Yeah, but when they restructured before bringing in the guards, they could have brought him back. That was he could have easily came back. And all that talk about, oh, I want to be the #1 running back somewhere. You're going to the ultimate running back by committee team, the 49ers.
Yeah, I will say this though, I'm not mad that we let him go, because I mean,
look at how Ito Smith played.
Look how Ito Smith. And even if he plays bad, 4th round, buddy, just go back to the 4th round. That's all you got to do now in the NFL. Go to the 4th round. And you'll find somebody.
This running back class is actually, it's actually solid. I hate to say this, rather do that.
Except for Saquon Barkley, hats off to him. A running back in the 1st round isn't going to put his body at risk as much as a running back in, say, a 5th round is. That 5th round running back is grateful to be there. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah, hear me out, because I've never even talked to you about this before. And I'm probably going to have you thinking for a second. So, have you ever thought about how, how can I word this? So, it's like, when, I'm having a blah moment, I'm sorry, guys.
You're good.
What am I talking about again?
you were on the subject of, like, a 5th rounder who would be more willing to, like, give up his body.
Yeah, okay. Back on it. Okay, the reason I say this is because, like, look at guys like, let's look at some of the running backs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you are higher around, you're not going to try to hurt yourself as bad as you would if you were like a 5th rounder. That's why you can get running backs in the 5th round. It's because they ain't afraid to get to fight for that extra 3 yards, 4 yards, when a running back that's trying to keep healthy won't. Like he'll take the extra 1 yard or on the tackle spot. But guys that from the 5th round, they're grateful. Like they don't mind fighting for the extra 4 or 5, 3 yards. That puts their body at risk on their knee injury or something. You feel me?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the draft position, Like, I feel like when a player gets drafted in the 1st round, they know, we got that 5th year at the end of our rookie contract. We're making the most guaranteed money. I do want to get paid, though, but, the rookie contract's nice. I think it just depends on the player. I think a lot of late-round picks play their asses off because they know, like, they can be replaced any moment. And I feel like,
why do you think guys like Kareem Hunt and stuff just come out of nowhere, dude? Because they fight for that extra yard, believe it or not. I mean, I hate to sound like that, but it's true,
They're also very talented, but yeah. I get what you're saying there.
Do you really get what I'm saying, Jeffrey? I'm in a good mood, I'm sorry.
Alright, I think we're ready to move on to the 3 underrated teams in free agency.
So teams that did really good but no one talks about.
Yeah, or in your opinion, did really good but no one really is shedding light on it.
Remember what I was talking about earlier? You're about to hear what I say. You ready?
Okay.
I have one team that's in both categories, and I'm gonna say it right now. You got the Green Bay Packers at #1.
Okay.
I'm not gonna keep on repeating the same thing that I said. Preston Smith, Adrian Amos, nobody's talking about it, brother. No one's all talking about it, and that's something that people need to talk about, because that's gonna be a force to reckon with in Green Bay, and that's gonna help that defense that's slowly getting better, but no one wants to talk about. So that's really all I'm gonna say about that. And if you disagree with me, then I guess you disagree with me, but that's something I'm just thinking about since the beginning, is Green Bay being the most slept on free agent. for agency.
No, I do agree with you. I hope the defense can improve. We saw definitely improvements last season. And by the way, a guy who I always seem to have an issue with, Colin Cowherd, he actually gave them an A- for their free agency. So shout out to him. The only guy really talking about it. Yeah, I think you can make a case. I didn't put them in the underrated category because, I mean, I probably should have, but in my opinion, it was nah, screw that. They just did good. I'm not gonna underrate what they did. But they didn't make my list. One of the teams that I'm pretty sure made both of our lists, the Buffalo Bills.
Who did they get, Jeffrey?
I mean, they didn't get any superstar players, but they definitely made a lot of little big moves, is what I'll call it. So they got a starting center, Mitch Morse, who was probably the best center on the market, if we're going to be honest. They brought in a deep threat wide receiver in John Brown. They brought in Cole Beasley. I thought that was a little weird, but he will be a slot receiver, if Josh Allen can improve the accuracy a little bit. But I just like the signings they made. They made 8 total signings, but those are really the 3 that I highlighted because I feel like those are the guys who are going to come in and be good right away, or at least contribute. Let me retract that. They'll be able to come in and contribute. I just like what they did, and then I feel like a lot of people like to clown the Buffalo Bills, and I actually like what they did.
Yeah, dude, I really like what they did. Teams don't talk about smaller pickups like that, but it's time that you do. The smaller pickups are the teams that end up throwing from trash to playoffs, and then one big superstar.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. That's a good point.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what they did. They got 4 average players, not actually 4, but just in perspective, instead of one superstar. And that's what wins games, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think what they went for was quantity over quality. And what I mean by that is...
I like that. I like that saying a lot.
Yeah, instead of breaking the bank...
Explain to them what that is, if you know how to...
Well, the quality... I mean, people, of course, like luxury cars, right? People like the Benz, the Cadillacs of the world. People like luxury cars. But shoot, they basically got 4 Toyota Corollas for that one Benz. So they got cars that can still go. They got cars that will get the job done. They just didn't get the luxury, high dollar, fancy, rich people car. Basically.
Right. But the car still drives, motherfucker.
It still drives. It does everything you need it to do, and I think that's what the Bills did. I'm not really a car person, but I thought that was a decent enough example without making an ass out of myself. So,
who would we put at number 3? I'm gonna be straight honest with you right now. Okay, this is the one thing I was having the most trouble with. So I'm gonna come out and say on air right now, this is something I really want to do as a group because I couldn't. It's this is something that was there's most teams that did bad. Most teams that did good. And most, what I'm saying? And there wasn't that many teams that did good that didn't get slept on because they would have already been called out instead of the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers, like we stated. You feel me? So who did you have at number 3? And we can go off of that just to help me out a little bit.
At number 3. You see, that was something I was having trouble with a little bit, but
2?
The Philadelphia Eagles, I think, were slightly underrated.
I'm not even disagreeing with you. Like I said, I just scared.
Now, you can't really tell, in hindsight, that Haloti Ngata was going to retire, but the fact that they got a defensive tackle without necessarily knowing right away, hey, I'm going to retire. They went out and got Malik Jackson the day after he was cut, and they brought him in on, a decent contract, I guess. They did lose Jordan Hicks, but I think to them it wasn't that big of a loss because he was one of those injury-prone players who on the field he's good, but he ain't on the field, so we can't really see how good he actually is. And, they still got decent linebackers. They just signed Andrew Sendejo from the Vikings today on a 1-year deal. I think that's a decent pickup.
You like that?
Yeah, that could add flexibility too for Malcolm Jenkins because he doesn't have to play strong safety. He can play free safety and let Sendejo roam around in the box. Also, they were able to keep Ronald Darby. They did a great job of organizing their cap space. They were one of the worst teams, and they ended up having decent money to make their smaller moves, like re-signing Jason Peters. So to me, I just felt like they did enough. An honorable mention, though, the New England Patriots. Every move they make, you just got to pay attention. Like, that's all I'm gonna say.
I love you.
Everything they do, just pay attention, because one of those dudes will probably be the postseason MVP for them. Like, literally, look, when they draft, I mean, I don't know how many people watch all 3 days of the draft. Just watch everything the Patriots do. They do it for a reason. I promise you, they do it for a reason.
It's crazy. That's the thing that's really slept on, is how what the Patriots do in the draft, brother. You know?
Yeah, everything's done for a reason. They had 2 first-round picks. They could have traded up if they really wanted to, but they stuck with the value last year with Isaiah Wynn and Sony Michel. They just stuck it out.
Yeah.
And that's why they were okay with Trent Brown going.
This is a little refresher.
They traded Brandon Cooks.
There you go. And
that's the thing about the Patriots. They're okay with letting people go. You know, like they
letting a guy like Brandon Cooks go is a big deal.
Yeah, and it's not like they didn't trade anything for him. They traded a first and a third, and they got a second in return for Brandon Cooks, and they were like, we can just flip him for a first and get 2 firsts this draft. You know, why not? And that's good. That's good business. You know, not being emotionally invested in one person or multiple people.
See, I'm somebody that's like to do it a lot. Who's a team that cannot let a good player go? They will not let that player go, even though it's pretty obvious they're going to move on. Anybody? If not, then I'm just going to keep it moving.
Oh, you mean like any? You mean like any team? I don't know,
Right
because
now.
I feel like in today's NFL, the Giants, Eli, they won't let go of a trash player.
Eli. Thank you.
They won't let go of a trash player, nonetheless a good player, because they let Odell go. And it's funny, we didn't even bring up the Giants in terms of losers. That's because they didn't do anything really in free agency. They did the trades. It just didn't make any sense. I didn't even want to bring it up, to be honest, because it just made no sense. But since we brought it up, you want to talk about it?
Like, you know, like the Odell and everything?
Yeah, I brought it up from the Browns perspective, but I wasn't going to talk about it from the Giants perspective because it was just too stupid. But since I already brought it up, do you want to talk about it? It's too late now. There's no turning back.
Well, everything that like, okay, so pretty much Odell going to a new team, the Browns. You know, what's the main thing you want to talk about? About this?
Okay, I'll come up with it on the fly. So, initial thoughts. How do you feel about Odell as a Cleveland Brown?
I like it. The only thing I don't like about it is the whole like young quarterback star. Like the young quarterback having a star now, because you know, fuck it, he's down there somewhere type deal. You know, with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek. But we don't talk about this. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world. But as an actual like move, I love it, because any team with Odell. Sorry, hang on, my headset dying. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'll take over if you need me to for a second.
Just for a second, brother. I'm so sorry.
I'll talk about the Odell in Cleveland. I like it. I think he was one of the. I mean, obviously he's a great talent. I just feel like sometimes those great talents need a fresh start. And I think this is the place to go for a fresh start, because the organization is going through a lot of change and having a fresh start. So he kind of fits the timeline anyway with Cleveland. Yeah, I know the concern about a superstar being with Baker. I can't really say whether or not he'll be nervous, or not necessarily gun shy, but like just gun slinging straight up, trying to find them everywhere, because we haven't seen them play together. But after 8 games, we'll definitely have our answer. But my initial thoughts are I love it, and you know, the Browns have another deep threat other than Antonio Callaway. That's the way I look at it.
Sorry about the headset issue, brother. Yeah,
it's good. And
you pretty much said what we all had in mind when it comes to this subject, you know?
Yeah. Now, what about from the Giants' point of view? Just real quick, the Giants, you know, like with the whole Odell situation, how do you feel about it from the Giants' point of view, trading Odell?
I mean, that's maybe be a situation where it's okay to get rid of a player sometimes. Um, about the Giants trading Odell, right? Just to make sure I'm on the right thing here.
Yeah, the Giants trading Odell.
It's based on who you ask, brother. Some players, you know, there's no way I would ever let go of a player like Odell. Sometimes it's just time to move on, you know?
Yeah.
The only thing that bothers me about it is you can move on from Odell, but you can't move on from Eli. What's going on here?
Yeah, that's the only frustrating thing about it for me.
Like, if they got rid of Eli and then got rid of Odell, I'm like, okay, you know, I can back that up, fella.
I would be way more comfortable because then I'd know the direction of the team. You know, in terms of like a team restarting.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what to think about it because it's like, all right, as an organization, probably not in the best mood. I mean, you did get players out of it, which is really nice.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, like the Odell thing. I don't mind a player like, you know, getting traded or whatever. I mean, yeah, this one was kind of wild because it was like, damn, you know, we kind of heard the rumors, but you know, we thought it was all smoke. The only problem I have with it is, you know, and I know, I feel like sometimes people just say stuff just to have it out there in the media, but you know, the GM, you know, at the end of the regular season was like, we didn't sign Odell to an extension to not trade him, or to trade him or whatever. We didn't sign him to an extension in order to be traded, but yet you kept picking up the phone for trade offers.
Okay, well then, if we're gonna get on to him for that, then let's get on to Gruden for saying that he don't go get older players, but he does. So I like to go both ways when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's a fair point as well.
But yeah, like you said, I 100 agree with what you said. It's just, as long as you agree with me about the Gruden thing, then we're all good here. You feel me?
Yeah, I agree with the Gruden thing. Not defending Gruden either when I say this. His is kind of more justifiable than the GM for the Giants.
Yeah. I'm not. I hope you didn't take that as me disagreeing with you.
No, I didn't. The only reason I even brought that up was because, you know, realistically, a team's not going to go out there with all 23 and under players. You got to have some veteran players. You know, that's just ridiculous. But from the Giants' point of view, because they held on to Eli and let Landon Collins and Odell just bounce, you know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I get it, he won 2 Super Bowls, but he's probably the worst starting quarterback now that Blake Bortles isn't a starter anymore, most likely.
You like that statement?
Yeah. I feel comfortable with saying that. I mean, no disrespect to Eli, but he's not Eli from several years ago. And who knows? What if they don't take a quarterback in this draft? That'll be the second year in which they don't address the situation for the future. I mean, what are they going to do? Do what the Dolphins did and say, yeah, we're going to be in it for Tua too.
Yeah, dude, this is a good statement to talk about. I like that we just went there with the whole Giant thing here.
Yeah, but you want to know what team made the best free agent signing though?
Who?
The Dolphins, getting Ryan Fitzpatrick, aka Ryan McGregor.
Bro, that is so like. That is so accurate that we're probably going to get banned now for saying that, because the NFL didn't want us to talk about it. So thanks, James. You're not James. Wow, that's funny. That is funny. Oh, I've been saying James all day, bro. You fuck with Patrick. But I know you're probably butthurt a little bit about that. We were talking about that after the podcast. I'm so sorry.
I'm not butthurt. No, I just wanted to make fun of it because, you know, everyone was talking about Fitzpatrick as like the NFL MVP for like a solid 2.5 weeks last year. They signed him to a 2-year deal, so who knows if the Dolphins draft a quarterback in 2020, maybe he'll compete for the starting job with Fitzpatrick. Who knows? But
dude, I'm so ready for this draft party, brother.
I'm ready for it too. I hope the plans don't get canceled. I hope we can go on with it. Is there anything else?
We already know.
You
we
want?
know
I'm
what's
sorry.
gonna happen if it gets canceled. We're gonna just do it our own.
Yeah, plan B. Plan B. We got this all under control. Is there anything else you want to say?
Bro, actually, we hit everything more. Like we did more stuff than we were supposed to. I like it. I think we hit everything.
All right. Well, you know what to do, man. Send us home.
All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this fucking podcast. Nah, alright, my bad. Alright, I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. We put a lot of work in this every week, sometimes twice a week. We really like appreciate y'all who actually stay committed to watching it. Share it. It's not hard to hit that share button. Facebook, you know, you can even share it on YouTube, believe it or not, and sometimes it will go on to like not trending, but it will go into like possible watch stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just if you don't, I like it. I mean, that would mean a lot to us. So if you disagree with anything you said, every week I'm gonna say it. Come on. We'll have a podcast with you. Talk about disagree, banter, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and peace out.
Peace.